you hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Inman. I'm also known as Jyvonne Inman, Andrew's mom, and I have 6 other children too. And I've just been incredibly blessed by what God has done in our lives, in his life, in my other kids, and in my life, even through the hardships that we've had in life. I'm an artist. I didn't start out as an artist. I was, back in 2004, I was watching my kids practice some music for church, and I was bored, and I saw a photograph of a cat, and I looked over, and I thought, oh, I wonder if I could draw that, and it came out realistically, and I realized at that moment that God had given me a gift. And I did draw for a few months, some animals. I've had different health issues through the years, couldn't draw very much, and I usually draw about 1 picture a year now. But since about 2006 or 2007, I've been really primarily just drawing things on my heart, things that God has shown me, and then they're drawn to encourage other people along the way. One of the battles that I have in life is that I have cancer. I've had it since 2008, and it's metastasized. And when I was getting chemo, it must have been the end of 2008 or early 2009, I started thinking about a time when I was in Kentucky, and I was crocheting, and I had this ball of yarn, and at the end of the yarn there was this little knot. And I thought to myself, you know, our lives are like that little knot at the end of the yarn. It's just a little portion. You could pull that yarn all across a football field, and you can go however long, and that knot is just such a tiny portion of that yarn. But our lives are like that, our life here on earth. And the ball of yarn is like eternity, only it's much bigger than a ball of yarn in comparison. And we get really caught up on the things in this life. So while I was going through chemo, I don't know how many of you have ever experienced cancer or chemo, but there's times that you just have to endure, and it's hard. But I started thinking about that little knot, and I thought, Lord, eternity's coming. This is just temporal. I don't want to be caught on this. I don't want to be choking on the fluff on the yarn, you know. I want to keep in mind what's really important. And I drew this picture while I was getting chemo. It's drawn with pencil, just regular pencil, and charcoal and carbon. It's a picture of a ball of yarn, and way over at the end is a little knot. And as I would be recovering from the chemo and I'd be at home, I had that up by my recliner, and I'd look at that, and it really, that God had shown that to me, gave me a lot of strength and comfort, because I knew that this is just temporal. And you know, right now, I guess it was last Thursday, I found out that the cancer is now in my spine and in my hip and pelvis. And, you know, nobody wants to hear that. And it's not easy for me or my family. But I do know one thing. We're just on the knot. We're just on the knot. And I'd encourage anybody who's facing dark times. It is temporal. And God, He does lead us through the darkness. He doesn't leave us alone in the darkness. He brings us through. And I've found that so many times to be true. And I just look forward to the day that I'm seeing Jesus face to face. I want to be here for my kids right now. But, you know, if it wasn't for them, I think I'd be like, Lord, just take me, you know? But I'm fighting for life for their sake. So anyway, that's kind of what the artwork is about. And I have it stand back there. You can take a peek at it later on if you want. And and see. And on the back of my pictures, there's always a story, what it's about in the back. So anyway, if you think of us, say a prayer for us. We would really appreciate your prayers. And God bless you.